It's live on lockdown time once again with Hollywood Hills in association with LiveX, and we've been talking to a lot of riders throughout this entire situation. Now it's time to talk to one of the riders as well as the guy that is now in charge of the GXCC series. Wian du Plessis, thank you so much for joining us and finding time in your schedule. Tell us, how has lockdown been for you so far, my brother?
Sorry, Matt, there. I don't know why this happened, but I had a phone call come in, even though it's set on Do Not Disturb. That's weird.
It's the new normal. It's everyone's still getting used to this crazy format. Don't you worry about it. Are you okay that side, man?
All well, thank you very much. Yeah, this lockdown has been painful, but it seems like we're getting through the levels, and before we know it, I think everybody's going to get back to a new normal, as you said.
It's like Street Fighter. Like we have to get through level 2 to get to level 3. You know, and then you have to fight a big bad guy at the end of it. So I'm waiting for that one to come around.
Yeah, I've heard all the jokes about, is it really level 3 or is it level 4.9? You know, it's much of a muchness.
So obviously you've been watching the lockdowns that we've been doing, and you must have blushed quite a few times, because nothing but praise for the GXCCs, for all of the pros that we've been chatting to, and yourself as a rider. And a long-time rider as well. I actually didn't realize how long you go back in the history lines. We'll talk about some of your riding. We'll talk about the GXCCs as well. But let's start at the very beginning. Where did it all begin for Wian and the twisting of the wrist?
Sure. Matt, yeah, look, as a youngster, my parents never allowed me to get on a motorbike. So I had a few sneak rides with friends when I was still in school. But I always had the passion. Instead of doing my studies and homework, I was always sitting with the Bike SA magazine looking at motorbikes. But yeah, about 15 years ago or so, I bought my first motorbike. It was a Yamaha YZ450, completely the wrong bike for a beginner. Because if you're riding 50s in high school, scaling with your friends, then yeah, getting onto a big beast like that, it's quite a handful. In fact, it's like giving sweets to a child and telling them they can't eat it. So as soon as I got the bike, arrived back home, took it off the back of the bucky, and I said, now I want to go and try this thing. It wasn't 7 minutes later, and I crashed into the back of a Conquest. So, but just then I thought, never be able to ride this thing. It's too difficult, and it's too much power. But yeah, over time,
did you come through? Did you come through like the BMX and motocross side, like a lot of guys did, or it looks like you just went straight out into the veld and pinned it?
Yeah, straight onto the dirt roads and enjoyed that. Yeah, so it was a big step for me, because one would have expected the starting bike maybe a 125 or 250, but I jumped onto a 450, and yeah, it wasn't even a year later, and I attempted my first race. That was in Heidelberg, 14 years ago. And from there, just moved on to all kinds of regional races and eventually the nationals. So yeah, it's been a while from the Yamaha days. Later on, I went on to Gas. The Gas actually had 2 of them, the 300s, the desert races with them. Yeah, it was all good fun. And yeah, as with anybody, you start challenging yourself, and eventually ended up doing a roof as well in 2017. Although it was just bronze class, it was quite a hectic one for me, because I know how to twist the throttle, but getting onto terrain with rocks is a tough one. Yeah, but through the years, a lot of training done with Wayne Farmer in the gas days, and yeah, just enjoying it all the way through.
I knew you as an EMD guy. You're always with Hannes and Stevie King. I know you're a big buddy of Stephen King's. And yes. I remember you pointed it out to me actually a couple of years back that I kept calling you a rock hopper. I never knew where that came from as well. And I think it's because that team had a lot of enduro riders. And I think I used to kind of get crossed up with you and Stevie King. And then you started to go really fast. And then I knew who you were.
I can actually remember one year at the desert race. That was just after doing a bit of enduro riding, when you announced me on the start line. You announced me as Wian du Plessis trying his hand at off-road. He's showing that he's not just a rock hopper, but it was actually the other way around.
I know, I got it wrong.
It was quite funny.
Yeah, but you know, you seem to be on that team for a very long time and find a good seat at the table there. And I think that's where you kind of became the 350 guy and really started to just gel with that bike. And I remember those days where you started to become a player, that you started to get on the box quite a few times.
Yeah, the 350 was obviously the weapon of choice. I really enjoy that bike. I still have it. Haven't even opened the motor on it. That's how solid the bike is. I really love it. But prior to actually joining a team, it was mostly for fun. And when I joined the QCon EMD team, you had that sense of, you know, you have to prove yourself and ride harder. So did a lot of training and eventually ended up getting onto the podium quite often. So yeah, it's good to be part of a team.
Those last few years as well, you actually started to bring home the bacon and getting onto the box and getting some real high achievements as well. So you started actually delivering on all of your training, and that's where you started to get those accomplishments coming in. We've got some nice shots of you with the family there at some of the prize givings as well. I mean, from the early days to relatively quite recently.
Yeah. In fact, the photo that you see now, that was in 2010 when I won the regional OR1 championship. My kids laugh at me when I tell them, you see that photo, that championship that I won, that's equal to D'Artagnan Lovejoy's achievement, you know, in the OR1 class for regionals. So, but if I had to compete against those guys now, they'll run circles around me. But yeah, I won an OR1 off-road championship back in the days, and after that, a lot of podium positions with the GXCCs. And I always tell everyone, you don't have to win every single race. If you end up second, third, fourth, and you're being consistent, that actually helps to rack up the points, and then you can end up in the top 2 or 3 for the championship for the year.
You definitely are one of those guys. So I've seen you as like captain consistency through the years, but also, you know, when you did actually get the monkey off your back and get that big win going, I think it was last year or the year before, I forget.
Yeah.
That was a big deal, man. That was a big deal.
Yeah, but you know, it's that's racing. Unfortunately, I can.
Yeah, I know a couple of guys got lost, but
took the wrong road, and they just handed the first place on a golden plate for me. So, so that was, but that was good to have a win last year. Yes.
Talk to me about why the off-road bikes and the scene. I mean, we have a great relationship, you and I and your family, and I didn't realize until probably about 1.5 years ago how much your family are involved in the whole scene.
Yeah, you know, I've never been a sports person that like to play in teams with rugby. It's always been a case of I want to achieve something on my own and for myself. And there's no better way to go and sit on a start line with a motorbike. But in the same vein, you have your family and your friends there to support you. You know, I started riding motorcycles when Miranda was pregnant with our first child, Nicole. And basically she grew up next to the track and in the pits. And later on, Megan was born, and the same thing. So it runs in the family. And, you know, before I knew it, Nicole was always saying, Dad, I want a motorbike. I want a motorbike. And I thought, no, man, you're a girl. You can't ride a motorbike. So eventually I bought a old 85. She started riding. And, since the beginning of this year, Megan also started riding. And they love it. And this lockdown, oh, man, they've been driving me crazy. When can we go ride? When can we go ride? So it's in the family. And, you know, Miranda has always been a sports lover, a big supporter of mine and for the kids as well. So she's always there handing out goggles, making sure we've got juices to drink and hydrate and, keeping us ready for the race.
Okay, so that gets us kind of up to date with you. Now, obviously, you know, we're very involved in the work we've been doing together. So let's talk about what happened at the end of 2019 and then going forward into 2020, because you and Miranda essentially became the faces of GXCC. You were laying out all the courses. Miranda was dealing with mountains of paperwork and telephone calls. And yeah, the first two races from our side and from everyone we've spoken to, everyone was buzzing. But just tell us about those couple of months of just chaos.
Yeah, you know, so obviously having a lot of experience in racing, I understand what a track needs to look like and what the danger points are and all of that. So I jumped to the occasion when it was offered to me to become the route director and working with Black Iron. So I actually decided to resign my full-time job and do this on a permanent basis. We didn't know how much work it was. You know, Lawrence always told me that it takes 2 to 3 weeks to lay out a course, and I thought, come on, it can't be that difficult. But trust me, it's a lot of work. So yeah, we jumped straight into it, and we got it going. A lot of nerves on the first day, first race, and eventually, yeah, flag dropped and everything went smooth. It's a lot of fun. It's hard work, but a lot of fun. And yeah, so first 2 races behind us, and we were looking forward to the third one, and here we are. So we'll get there, but a lot of good fun that we had out there marking the track. Miranda covered in paperwork. Her phone has become a call center for all the new guys needing to know how to register and take out their memberships and what classes do they need to compete in. But I think you know, that's expected for the first race or 2 for the year, and then after that it'll become easier.
And I think it was nice as well that you stayed with the format in the off season. Everyone was obviously asking everyone the same questions. What are these guys going to do? Are they going to change it up too much? And to be fair, you didn't. You put little markers from your side, from the track layout. You changed up the start scenario, which I thought was great. You know, the chicken run situation has changed up the way that the guys start and approach the races. And also you tighten things up. That first farm, as we know, was a very tight place to work with, but it also gave a slightly different look and feel to the GXCCs, who over the last few years have become super highways. And it was nice to kind of calm them down a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? Year after year, I looked at the starts and I thought, I wish we can have something exciting or different. And obviously, when I had the opportunity, I said, now we're going to change this. And funny enough, it's been the biggest talking point for most of the riders. Even for the spectators, they were crowding around that area to see how guys either go over the tires or the logs or whatever we put down. But I think that's just to break the speed and create a bit of excitement at the start. And everybody's talking about it. So it's a good, fun thing, you know, to listen to the guys. Are you going to go over the concrete pipe or are you going to take the chicken line? So, yeah, a little bit of new things that we want to add in there. We'll think of some extra new, exciting things to add as we progress. But for the start, yeah, that's one thing. And for me, it's important to have a good combination of open, flat-out stuff, not sitting there for kilometers and kilometers on end, flat taps, but to make it twisting and turning, some little bit of technical areas. But it all depends on the terrain that you have to work with. And yeah, every farm will have its own unique flavor to it.
Doesn't it make you laugh? We were speaking to a lot of the guys, and that straight at Falkville, that straight that everyone referred to, we know that it was, I think, 2.3. I think one of the guys said, oh, that 4K straight. And I had to put him right. So I was like, it wasn't 4Ks long.
Yeah, no, sometimes it can feel like that. But yeah, we've actually measured it. And but hey, it's a long straight and you have to deal with it. Sometimes we have to put long straights in, and sometimes we don't have the terrain to do that. Unfortunately, on that farm, we had to connect from one area to the other, and yeah, Armand wouldn't have been very happy if we had to cut a windy route through his millies. But yeah, so it's all good fun. I think you're going to have fast races, you're going to have slow races, and we'll mix it up for the rest of the year. We're also looking at having a race in thick sand. So that's going to be a different challenge again. Yeah, so every race will be different, and guys will always have something to say, but it's a good laugh and something to talk about.
Ooh, sand. That's got Dart and Ian Roll written all over it. They'll be pumped to hear that one.
Yeah, just hope they make it across the border back from Botswana with this lockdown story to come and compete again.
Oh, they're pretty good riders. If they take a long enough run up, I think they'll clear the border. They'll be okay. Okay, so, we all worked together and all the riders were pumped on rounds 1 and 2. Boom, lockdown happens. We had to throw away round number 3. And then pretty much as we were coming up to round number 4, a lot of things started changing in the background. So this is where I got to throw you the uncomfortable one to try and explain nicely how things went about, because all of a sudden you guys phoned me, and then pretty much after you phoned me, the big announcement came out that you had actually bought GXCC along with your wife, Miranda. Tell us about that situation.
Yeah, Matt, I'm not going to go into all the finer details. All that I'm going to say is that, unfortunately, the deal between the Mahoneys and Black Iron wasn't concluded. They couldn't reach an amicable agreement on the purchase price and the terms of the contract. And the contract, therefore, was cancelled. So, Black Iron stepped in and took ownership of it for rounds 1 and 2. But unfortunately, they couldn't finalize the contract and agree on terms. So there I was. I resigned my job in the end of December, and all of a sudden, okay, where do we go now? So Lawrence approached me and he said, Wian, let's sit down. We can't let this thing die. I was in the fortunate position to have a little nest egg hidden away. So we utilized that funds, and we sat down with Lawrence and Marilyn, and we decided that we're going to buy the club over from them directly. We've got the passion for it. We've just started, and we believe that if you start something, you have to finish it. So, yeah, that's where we are. We've signed the contract, signed, sealed, delivered, paid, and now we're in lockdown and we can't actually go and race. So it was a difficult decision to make, but I know, Miranda know that this is going to bear lots of fruits for us in the future. And we're very excited about it, and we can't wait to go racing again.
Yeah, no, a lot of the riders have been supporting the decision. It would have been tough to just can the whole thing. It's also tough to buy something that you can't use. How many guys have got super bikes and motocross bikes that they literally can't use, and you've got a race series that you can't use at this stage. But that kind of takes us up to the next part, because you and I have been on comms for, the whole lockdown, basically. And I know that you've been chatting very closely with Motorsport South Africa to try and understand where they are. And a lot of other forums are starting to come to light now, where people are kind of adjusting. Was it a week and a half ago when it said no contact sports are relaunched, and everyone said, Matt, are we going racing again? And I'm sure your phone rang as much as mine did, but until we get the green lights, we don't get the green lights. So what's the situation with Motorsport South Africa and you guys then?
Well, Matt, Motorsport South Africa, unfortunately, have to abide by the government's rules. As you said, I've been in communication with them, and yes, they want to go racing just as much as we do. Unfortunately, with the situation right now, it's up to the government. Yes, we can all go out and exercise, so we're not limited to just walking and jogging between 6 and 9. We can all go ride our bikes. I saw announcements that Aurora racetrack is open again today.
Yeah, all the motocross is up.
We can all go ride, and but unfortunately, because GXCC is a big event, there's a lot of people. That is our biggest concern at this stage is the crowds. If every rider rocks up with only one person, immediately we've got over 600 people on the terrain. And that's the biggest problem. So we'll see what level 2 holds up for us, if they will allow us to go and race, but under certain conditions. Yes, then we'll have to abide by it. At least we'll be able to go and race. But I can't make any promises on behalf of GXCC or on behalf of Motorsport South Africa. I've spoken again to them again this morning, and unfortunately there are no new news. We have to wait and see what the restrictions or the newer levels are going to be for level 3, for level 2 coming, obviously.
Is there a situation where you've been able to make MSA aware of what's going on around the world? Obviously, our sister racing series in the USA, you and I refer to it as the GNCCs, the Grand National Cross Countries. They went back racing, but as we all know, America is a different country. More to the point, it's got 51 states that all run different rules. So we saw how they handled it, and I suppose those are going to be yardsticks that we will measure ourselves against at this early stage until we can actually get that green light.
Yeah, so motorsport is looking at the template, almost, if you can put it that way, that the GNCC used to see what framework was used to go to their government and actually try and convince them that it's safe for us to go in racing again. So yes, that template will be used, but remember, we're not the only sporting body. Motorsport is one thing, but guys that want to go and play golf or athletics, whatever the case may be, there are so many different governing bodies, and they're all standing in a queue to go and speak to the Minister of Sport. So we are unfortunately in the queue and we have to wait. But yeah, I think it's a good thing to compare ourselves to the GNCC and see what template was used and what rules they proposed to their government to get going again. I can tell you now, if we go racing again, it's going to be under strict conditions. Everybody will have to sign a register upon entering the terrain. We'll have to do away with manual documentation, look at other ways of doing electronic documentation and signing up in the morning when you arrive. And we'll have to wear masks, social distancing. We won't have pits right next to each other. It'll be like one pit, skip one pit, skip one. And yeah, so that in itself might also cause a bit of a problem for the pit layout. Instead of having a 600 or 800 meter long pit lane, we're going to have a pit lane that's 1.2 kilometers long. So we have to consider all those sort of things. And yeah, we'll see what is going to come down the line when the Minister of Sport eventually allows us to go racing again.
The good thing is we definitely have everything set and ready to go, and I think that's what everyone needs to understand. We are good to go. GXCC is still strong. You're still working with sponsors and partners, and I suppose that brings us nicely onto the next section of the conversation. Yes, you bought GXCC, like you say, out of your nest egg, and I wish you guys the best of luck with that. But obviously, the running costs and just tell us what it takes to actually get a race going. I mean, I kind of know the answer, but there's some things in the background that I also don't want to know as well, because there's too many things to kind of handle sometimes.
Yeah, look, Matt, in the first place, it's a lot of hard work, which we're not afraid of. Work is one thing, but it's expensive. So for anybody that arrives at a GXCC and see the infrastructure on the terrain, that costs a lot of money. So we are grateful for the sponsors that we have. They do make it easier for us. Unfortunately, with the transition from the Mahoney's over to Black Iron and now to us, we have unfortunately lost some of the sponsors. And we know that it's a tough time in the economy also, but we would welcome any sponsor that is willing to put his brand out there and get involved in the sport to contact us and see where they can help. Every little bit helps. It is, like I said, it's very expensive. There's a lot of people that need to be paid on the day to make it all possible. So, yeah, there's a lot of racers out there that have got a passion for the sport, but there are people that are not even competing but have a love for the sport, and maybe they have some big companies that are willing to assist, and we'll call on them and ask for any help that we can get. So, yeah, apart from that, it's hard work. Good work. We enjoy it. It's good fun. And we'll just have to hang in there and go and speak to some more people and see what we can do to make it even bigger and more successful.
At the end of last year, when you guys started talking about you were going to be working with the Black Iron Racing crew, and then as a management team, you guys came to us and said, can we do the television for you? We were super pumped about that, not just because of actually getting the contract, but because for the last couple of years, we've really wanted to up the level of the GXCC coverage as well. And exactly. the feedback, we'd obviously like to know the feedback. I'm not looking for the high five on quality, but how much, how important it was to just get any TV back for the GXCC series, and if that actually assisted with getting sponsors and stuff on board.
Yeah, so Matt, I think that is a big, plus point for any sport and for any coverage that you get. If you go to television, that's what people want. Almost and opas want to see their grandkids race, but sponsors want to see their brand out on television as well. So, for the first few races, yes, we've had the television coverage. It was a big plus point and everybody loved it. I must be honest with you. You and I have had the discussion right now. With us taking over, we are not going to be in a position to pump in that amount of money to go and put everything on television. That's a negative for us. It's a negative for you guys as well. But that's why we
but we understand. It's going to be bare bones racing. We know that, and that's look at Supercross. Look at Monster AMA Supercross. They really had to turn it down. Can you imagine in a I think they use the Super Bowl stadiums or the American football stadiums, how many ticket sales they lost? And I don't know if you watched it. Did you watch it this weekend? That you could actually select on the live stream whether you wanted crowd noise, like a fake crowd noise in the background, or just dead silence. I went dead silence because it's like having it's like having a backtrack when a comedian's telling jokes.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know. It's for me, that's something that we obviously want to have, and we want to get the television coverage out there. So it'll be great if we can have a big company to come to us and say, look, let's talk about becoming a media sponsor so that we can cover that. And eventually it'll be in everybody's best interest. But yes, we all need to understand the main first focus is everybody want to get out there and go and race. Chase a championship. So that is going to be the first focus, and we'll make sure that the infrastructure around that is all in place, and then we can only build from there.
Oh, you just reminded me of something. The championship, that magical word that's been kind of toted around. So when lockdown happened and looked like we were going to lose 2 rounds, I was like, okay, we lose 2 rounds of 8. We've still got enough to make up a championship. And I think I'm right in saying there's no chance of nailing championships this year. Am I right?
I don't know. I think we can actually still do it. Even if we lose round, which we lost round 3 and 4, we're about to lose round 5 now as well. But we didn't have a race planned for August because August is normally there's a school holiday period in there, and with the kids not going to school and school holidays being taken away, we can probably squeeze a race in August if we can go racing in August. That means it's August, September, October, and we didn't have one planned for November. So maybe we can squeeze one in November. So that's 5 rounds plus the 2 that we've had. That makes it 7. So
I'll make it work.
We can still have an official championship. But again, it all depends on whether or not we can actually go and race maybe in August. I'm not stating it as a fact that we're going racing in August. I'm saying that hopefully we can. So, then we can still actually have it as the championship. I'm just concerned about those guys that have to cross the South African borders. I'm thinking of guys that are like Doc that have been the champion. He wants to come and defend his title. If he can't cross the border, then, it's going to be unfortunate for him.
I hear you. Okay, let's just change gears a little bit here. Tell us about what you have actually physically been doing during this lockdown period, because I know you've got as well as running the series, you've got to spin the spanners as well, eh?
Yeah, Matt. I've listened to the other athletes that you've had the conversations with or the interviews with, and all of them have been saying they've been keeping busy and exercising and doing some home gym work. I must admit, I am probably as unfit as I've ever been in my life. I haven't done any exercise. I've been focusing quite a bit on the paperwork and getting everything ready for GXCC. But in the background, we also run a workshop from home. We're looking at expanding and actually getting a workshop outside of my property so that life can be split between work and actually living. But started off with a workshop as a word of mouth. It just grew and grew and grew. Never, ever actually started with doing any advertising, and then just got to a point where I actually had to employ somebody full-time to work with me on the workshop. We do everything from race preps to changing tires, complete strip downs, rebuilds of motors, top ends, everything. And then we started with something new where we actually do vapor blasting. It's a concept that's not very well known in South Africa, where you can't get a pot as clean as with vapor blasting. It's a combination of water and glass beads under huge pressure that we blast the components with, and they come out shining like brand new pots. So it's ideal for somebody that's doing a restoration on an old bike, or even for somebody that's doing a motor rebuild. The pots come out absolutely fantastic. It looks like brand new pots. So we're quite excited about that, and we're going to advertise it a bit and see if we can grow the workshop business and bolt that onto the workshop as well. But that's always good. That keeps the bread on the table. And if anyone's to have any work done on their motorbikes, it doesn't matter what kind of work they need to do. We're ready for it. We've invested quite heavily in equipment, and we're ready to assist anybody out there to contact me directly, and they can bring their bikes and we can service it for them.
That's super cool, Wian. And I speak to all the guys, and Gideon has probably stripped his bike 12,000 times during this time. I think he went and bought a new side-by-side as well while this was going on. So I don't know if we're losing him to car racing or whether he just bought a new toy to go play in the mine dump. But I don't know what your feedback is about what you've been seeing about the guys. And what we've been hearing is it's so cool to learn about what everyone does when they're not putting on a set of goggles and a helmet. And for me, it's been an amazing learning experience.
Yeah. In this time, as I mentioned, even though the workshop expanding and buying new equipment and tools and whatever, certain things that we were not able to do in the past, where we had to send a crank off to engineering works to get it pressed, and now we can do it all in-house, and learned a new skill. So these sort of things, I think lockdown opened a lot of eyes for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people develop new skills, and it's for the better. So, and eventually we'll be able to do a lot more than what we used to do before lockdown.
It's true. I feel like everyone's gonna have to work harder. It's one of those things we're all having to do kind of like another 5 or 10% at least, just to kind of like figure out the same job. It's strange, really weird.
And I think everybody's going to have a big catch up to do. So I think when everything gets to a point of normality, the people are going to be really busy at work to try and catch up with lost time. Yeah,
man. Wian, it's been amazing to talk about your journey, to talk about the GXCCs. Again, we'll probably catch ourselves up in the next couple of weeks as well as things start to change, because I've been wanting to talk to you for a very long time. But as you said, it wasn't that there was no point in talking. It was just there wasn't enough information and change happening in those early days of the lockdown.
Yeah, we didn't know what was going to happen. So it's almost a case of no news is good news. We didn't want to go and get the guys to enter for the next race if we don't know when the next race is going to be. I see some other clubs have done that, and then they had to postpone again. So we'll let everybody know when we're ready to go and when entries open up. But then we know it's for sure. And when we're going to go racing again, then we'll open up the entries.
Wian, thank you. As I've done with all of our guests, the floor is yours now to say thank you to anyone who has helped you on your journey out there. And then we've got a nice treat video for all the guys out there. You came to us and asked us to put together a really nice promotional video for the GXCC tour. So once you've done your thank you, we'll end off the show with a great video to remind everyone how cool GXCC is.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So, as I mentioned earlier on with the sponsors, we've got some long-standing relationships with the likes of Mega Freight, Henderson Racing Products, HRP. They're probably the two biggest sponsors for us at the moment. Mega Freight not even being in the industry, they're not related to racing, but such a huge big thanks to them. They've been helping us out big time with the sponsorship that they've been giving us. And guys, if you don't know what they're doing, they in international freight forwarding. So if you ever need to bring a container in or ship containers of stuff out, get in contact with them. I think we all need to support each other in this industry. If we get help, we need to also help. Henderson Racing Products, Mark, a great high five to him. He's been great to us. Every time you guys see the trophies that we dish out at the races with prize giving, he's the one that's paying for it. So we just want to thank him very much for that. EMD, I've had a good friendship and a relationship with Hannes and Ati from EMD. They're great guys, and whenever I need something in my workshop, they're the first call. They've got great products, and now they've got their online store open. They've opened another branch in Boksburg, so please go and support them. They're amazing, and they're really, really good to us as well. Just Track, it's a device that you can use when you go out riding. It works with GPS. So they've developed a fantastic product that you can put in your backpack, and whilst mom and dad is sitting in the pits, they can check where you are and make sure that you're safe. It's got a SOS button that you can push on it to make sure that if something happens, then everybody knows where you are and they can find you. Fantastic product. I've used it at the roof as well. It's an awesome product. And then Gazebo World, they've been with us all along. So whenever we need to rebrand stuff, we can just call on them. And so anybody that needs a new gazebo for the racing, please go and call on them. They support us. Let's support them. So yeah, thank you very much to those guys. Without them, this would be really difficult, and we'd love to get more sponsors on board. So please feel free to contact us.
Thanks,
awesome.
Matt. That's awesome, Wian. Thank you for that. And big high five to Miranda and the kids as well. Thanks for them letting you off the hook. I'm sure you've got a ton of chores to get back to. So thanks to them for that.
Straight to the workshop for me now. Yeah.
All right. So as promised, Wian had asked us previously to do a nice little edit. This is based on the first 2 rounds of the GXCCs, and it just shows you what you guys are in for when we go back out and go racing. And we will go racing. We're just waiting for that magical green light, as Wian says. So for now, we'll sign off with that. We'll say thanks to Wian and the whole GXCC team, and enjoy this. We put this together, and this is the living, breathing GXCC series.